Welcome on into another episode of the Baseball Insiders. I am Robert Murray, and as you can tell, that is not Adam Weinrib. That is actually Thomas Carannante. How did I do with pronouncing
You
that?
sure
Did
did
I
it
do that right?
well. Oh, yeah.
Let's freaking go. I had to ask Adam, I believe it was at the All-Star game, how to actually pronounce your last name. So I'm glad I remembered I got it right.
Yeah, you did better than all my childhood teachers, so nice.
Wait, how do they typically pronounce it?
Oh, there's Carriente, there was Carranti, I could go on for it would take up the whole podcast episode.
Well, good news is we got plenty to talk about in baseball besides your last name. Lots going on, so that shall be a good time. But Tommy or Thomas, how we doing, baby? What's the good word? What are the takes for today?
Oh man, we're good, dude. Thanks for having me, everybody here. Thanks for tuning in. Love a good live podcast. Baseball Insiders does some great work. I'm watching every week. I'm getting all the info. If you guys don't know, not a Pirates fan, but I am supporting the Bubba Chandler promotion that we're going to talk about this episode. I'm a Yankees guy. Yes, Zach, the Yankees do seem to be back. I'm not gonna fully get on board until this 4-game series against the Red Sox comes to a close this weekend, which again, that's on the docket for the discussion of the AL wildcard today, but I am feeling good. You get 9 home runs last night, so I think they're riding this momentum pretty well, and we could see them do some damage. It's all going to be about them just being able to maintain themselves.
No, for sure. And I know we were going to be talking about realignment a little bit, but you want to start talking like AL wildcard and all that good stuff? Because I'm curious, like, what's your stance here with the wildcard race?
It's ping pong, and I need to know your stance, but I'll tell you mine. I mean, I had no faith in the Yankees about 2.5 weeks ago. I thought it was done for them. In terms of because you look around. I think the Red Sox are better than they are in terms of like depth, being able to like handle big opponents and big games. The Mariners have been largely very good since the trade deadline, and they've been reinvigorated. I know they've had some problems recently, but all teams are going through it. You got the Guardians surging. You have the Royals coming out of nowhere. I was worried about the Rangers a couple weeks ago just because of their starting staff. But look, it's a heated battle right now. You have Yankees up top. That's the first time they reclaimed the top spot in a couple weeks. Red Sox and Mariners right behind them. So it's going to be a dogfight until the end. And for me, it just comes down to being able to win these big games. The Yankees have been kind of jerked around by all these top opponents. The Astros have their number constantly. The Red Sox get the best of them. So I'm going to need to see more out of the Yankees. Like I said, I know the Red Sox just lost 2 against the Orioles, but I still have full confidence in what they're able to do. I like their profile top to bottom. But yeah, how are you feeling? Because I know that you're sitting pretty with the Brew Crew, and Adam and I are going to be here stressing until the last day of September.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't necessarily a Brewers guy growing up, but I obviously have some pretty deep ties to the organization with covering the team for a few years and growing up around the team. And
so who's your squad?
I grew up a Giants fan, believe it or not.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's you're dead in the water. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but shout out to my dad for that one. At least we got the 3 World Series rings. When we went in the early 2010s there. But my thoughts on the American League here is, I mean, I'm still skeptical of the Yankees. I know it's been better of late, but I'm not necessarily sure what to make of them long term here, or at least for the rest of the year. And the vibes around the team are weird. And Aaron Boone's press conferences, like, you could see it there, the way that they've played on the field, just how lackadaisical, is that the right word for it? And just poor their fundamentals are. I mean, we talk about like the Brewers are such a fundamentally sound team.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees just make some really odd mistakes. And we even saw Boone the other day make comments about how we might not see Aaron Judge throwing properly for the rest of the season. And Judge was like, I don't know where he got that from. He hasn't watched me throw in 2 weeks. Yeah. So just overall vibes don't pass the vibe check there at all for me. So we'll see. The Red Sox, to me, they are a very dangerous team both now and in long term here. And getting Roman Anthony extended, it increased the vibes there in Boston. And it's been a kind of a roller coaster of emotions there, just in terms of the fan base and just where that team has stood. But I like what they're doing there. So shout out to Craig Breslow and that front office for doing that. And then the other team is the Mariners. And I know it was very good immediately after the deadline, but I really like what they have there, despite their recent struggles. And Suarez will be better. Their team will be totally fine. To me, they're honestly, in my eyes, the team to beat in the American League, not named the Tigers. And I know it's not been like the greatest stretch or the greatest second half so far for the Tigers, but still, like the Mariners are legit. To me, they're a very good squad. So I'm not giving up on the Mariners despite a down stretch here. But we still got the Rangers, as you talked about. I'm glad you ended up mentioning them because I mean their rotation. I mean, any potential series there, that's a nightmare. DeGrom and Nathan Eovaldi. You'll not find a bigger Eovaldi fan than me. He's been phenomenal. So very dangerous team there, especially with Bruce Bochy running the show there.
Yeah, man. I mean, 6 games out isn't ideal for them, but I feel like larger leads have gotten erased. We still have 7 weeks of baseball. It was 40-ish games left. Like, anything can happen. We've seen crazier things happen in the last 3 weeks of September. So I'm not ruling any of these teams out. And I'm watching the AL East all year. Like, I know the Rays haven't looked good, but I'm not ready to write them off until they're fully dead. They never go away. I deal with it every year. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Yankees. Do you think the Yankees are not going to make the playoffs, or do you think they're going to lose grip on the first wild card spot? Like, what's the thought process there?
Yeah, so if you would ask me that question 3-4 weeks ago, I said that I didn't think they were going to make the postseason. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I even said that on foul territory or fair territory, which we'll see exactly how that ages. Am I allowed to change my answer, or do I have to stick?
Yeah, I mean, look, the baseball season is fickle, man. It changes every 2 weeks. We got new opinions.
Yeah, and I mean, my guess now is, especially with them running the show here with the first wild card spot, I'm going to guess they end up making the postseason, but I don't think they're going to have the number 1 wild card spot. I think they're going to lose their grip on that. There's so many teams that behind them that I believe in more. So I think they make the postseason, but it's going to come down to like the last week or so. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, it's a coin flip for them. In my opinion, if they have to face, first of all, anybody on the road, they're in trouble because this is their worst road performance in years. If they have to face the Red Sox or the Astros in the first round, you might as well just empty your bank account and take either Boston or Houston and be done with it, because I don't see them advancing beyond that. They've had so many problems with these two teams in the postseason and over the last, since 2017, 2016. And then if they run into them again in the first round this year, when they've dealt with so many problems over the last 2.5, 3 months, I just don't see how, like, this team needs some sort of confidence booster in the first round. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to get it, because whether you're facing the Mariners, the Yankees kind of have the Mariners number. I don't like that, because I enjoy the Mariners a lot, and I hate when we beat down on them. But like, the Mariners came to the Bronx when the Yankees were at their worst right before the break, and we swept them. But then again, with that starting rotation, potentially having to play them on the road, I don't like that matchup. The only way I'd feel confident is if we run into an AL Central team, because that's the only teams we've been able to beat over the last few years.
Yeah. No, I'll even going to the Mariners here. Like, I gotta wait and see what they end up like, because they've obviously had talented teams, but they haven't really performed in the postseason. And I need to see it in order to believe it with them. But I hope they don't end up facing your Yankees, just so both of your teams can end up being in there. And seeing Cal Raleigh against Aaron Judge would be just tremendous. I mean, that'd be incredible baseball. I think everyone around baseball or in baseball, maybe even not even baseball fans, would actually tune in to watch that. So, hello from Cooper, by the way.
Hey, Coop.
He's taking a nap behind me, so he says hello, I'm sure. Beautiful. But no, we're also let's just drift to the big news of the day. And I gotta preface with this, because this is my biggest nightmare. I switched gyms recently, and I did a workout class this morning. It was leg day today, and I had my phone away from me. I wasn't expecting any news, and I asked somebody this morning, when do you think the Pirates are going to call up Bubba Chandler? And like, do you think they even call him up this season? And he's like, I have no idea, bro. Like, this is crazy. Like, what's going on? During the workout class, I have a missed call and missed text saying that Bubba got called up. I would have beaten Noah Hiles. I would have beaten everybody on it. So that is my biggest nightmare as a reporter, that I missed.
You were what? Deep breaths and downward dog. You missed it?
Dude, I was doing squats. I was doing hack squats. I was doing, you name it. It was RDLs. It was terrible. But Bubba Chandler is finally called up. This is something I've been tracking for quite a while here. with the Pirates. I thought this should have happened long ago. He is the best pitching prospect in baseball, like just a tremendous talent overall. I've been critical of the Pirates in terms of their deadline, in terms of waiting this long to call up Bubba. I think some of my deadline uh, criticizing or whatever you want to call it was misplaced by me. But I'm wondering why it took so long to call up Bubba. I know he got off to a great start and it's been kind of rocky since, but part of me wonders if it was just pure frustration from Bubba in terms of waiting this long to be called up and just how long he's been in the minors, because he's thrown 100 plus innings in the minors for 3 straight seasons, and that's got to take a toll on him, especially with all the rumors about him possibly being called up. I think he's going to have a huge impact. Going to pitch out of the bullpen, which, I mean, we'll see exactly how that ends up playing out. It's a strategy that the Brewers have used with some of their guys like Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, some of their young guys. So it's not a strategy that's necessarily foreign to teams in baseball. But I don't know how much you know about Bubba. You have a Pirates hat, so I'm optimistic. You know a good amount about Bubba. But what are you expecting?
Yeah, man. We cover the rumbunter.com on the Fansided Network. Go check it out. A lot of good Pirates coverage over there. Been reading a lot about him this year. To be honest, you tell me what took so long. This was potentially in the works when Jared Jones went down. They needed the reinforcement. I understand the offense is mostly the problem with Pittsburgh at the moment, but it's kind of been a bit of a revolving door with that pitching staff this year with injuries and then a lot of guys leaving at the trade deadline. Andrew Heaney just gets moved to the bullpen, so I'm guessing that's what spurred this move. But what puzzles me here, so maybe you have more answers as to why, or maybe you were hearing as to why it didn't happen earlier. This is Bubba Chandler's worst stretch of the season. So odd timing by the Pirates. He's starting in the bullpen, right? So it's not like he's going to be thrown into the fire making starts right away. But the fact that he said, I'm looking at the game log right now, 5 earned, 2 earned, that was a solid start, 5 earned, 3 earned, but in 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned in 4 innings, 4 earned in 3 1/3. So I don't know. You talk about confidence, and it's like the Yankees are always making promotions and moving guys around at odd times where it's like, why don't we just ride the wave when they're feeling good and they're pitching confidently? So I'm happy for Pirates fans, obviously, because this is the top pitching prospect in baseball. People have been talking about him for the last year, but I do wonder, he's coming up during a lost season, during his worst stretch of this season, and is that going to affect him? I don't know. I've seen it happen before.
Yeah, and it was definitely unprecedented. And I had people around baseball just asking me, like, what are they necessarily doing here? And it was just a case of Pirates wanting to be patient with one of their best prospects, actually their best prospect. I know Connor Griffin's been obviously highly touted and rightfully so, but Bubba is the guy that could have. I mean, he's just a tremendous talent overall, especially in a lost season here once again for the Pirates. He could have provided some optimism for the franchise, especially for the fan base, and gotten people into the seats. And we've seen the fans speak loud and clear by not filling up that ballpark unless it's like a bobblehead day or a giveaway day. But they wanted to make sure they got this right. They didn't rush him up, and they wanted it to be in the right situation. And it frustrated a lot of people. I'm sure it frustrated Bubba Chandler, but he's here now, and I'm expecting big things from him. And it's not necessarily he's not going to be the savior. They didn't want him to be, but you have Skeens, you have Bubba Chandler, you have a bunch of other guys. You are in a really unique situation here where they can really take advantage of having just a dominant pitching staff. And if they end up bolstering the lineup during the offseason here, they can end up being a team that can contend for a postseason spot. So I know there's been a lot of ups and downs here with the Pirates, and fan base is rightfully really not happy. But there's pieces there, and if Bob Nutting finally invests in the roster, I think they can actually get there. But it's all up to Nutting. And again, like my criticism has been most recent criticism, especially after the deadline was pointed toward Ben Cherington. Again, that was misplaced. I wish I could have that one back, because it at the end of the day, it just falls on Bob Nutting.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot. It's tough, man, when either GMs are pigeonholed by what ownership wants, or they're at least backed into a corner with decisions that they can make. I think, look, the job as the GM is to navigate what ownership is allowing you to do. I think that there was probably a lot of right to question there because it's not just coming from everybody who's deciding to yell about the Pirates, right? It's fan frustration, it's production on the field. This team has controllable, cheap starting pitching, which is what every team kills for because that allows you to invest heavily in other areas of the roster. So you sit here and you wonder, it's like, all right, we have the golden goose. The golden goose is Paul Skeens, and then we have a pipeline of pitching that can come up and help us right now. So times now, you got to either acquire good offensive talent via trade with your surplus of assets, or you got to pay for it. So, if they bring up Bubba Chandler earlier in the year, I don't know if that changes anything. Probably not because the offense is so bad. But now, I don't know. You probably have a little bit more insight here. Is he going to be on some sort of innings limit throughout the remainder of the year? Or they're not going to let him loose? I'm assuming it's just going to be a couple of multi-inning, a few multi-inning appearances, maybe a week, and then they just let him get to a certain number by the end of the year and call it.
Yeah, my read on this is that by waiting this long to call him up and then also putting him in a bullpen role, they're not trying to put too much onto his arm right away. And I can't blame him. I mean, you got to be really careful with him here, and you don't want to end up losing him long term to an injury in a season that's essentially lost. I mean, not essentially, it is lost.
Yeah.
So they're handling this the right way. They're being careful. They're being cautious by not putting too much onto his plate right away. But I'm telling you, if everything goes right here with Bubba, and to me, there's no indications that it's not going to end up going in the right direction. Between Skeens, you have the best 1-2 punch in ball. They're just that talented. They have Mitch Keller going on there as well. And they obviously got a good amount of interest at the deadline, but between Heaney, they did not get any offers good enough to move either one. So they held on to both. Same thing with Tommy Pham. So they've been intentionally keeping their pitching in place. We'll see if the interest in Keller ends up picking up in the offseason, but at least for now, long term, they should have Skeens and Chandler there as running the show there in the rotation. I'm telling you, if there's any way to start a team, I would want to have those two guys running the show because we've seen how good the Rangers have been despite some of their struggles this season. Their pitching has really carried them, and that could be the same case for the Pirates, but they have to invest in the offense. They have to invest in somewhere in the infield and maybe use the money saved from Ke'Bryan Hayes' trade to invest into third baseman or invest elsewhere in the team where they can have a more offensive-heavy approach rather than lean on the defense. So we'll see, but their pitching is just a tremendous start. So I'm optimistic about what's to come there.
Yeah, let's go, Pittsburgh. Come on. These fans have been dying for it. I feel like it's right there, man. You just got to convince a couple of guys who's not going to want to play with Paul Skeens? Like, if Paul Skeens was on a team that was a little bit better, like he's already one of the faces of baseball, imagine how much bigger he would be if there was a playoff push right now. Even if he was, if they were like 6 games out of a wild card spot, I feel like that would be the excitement would be so much more. And now it's like we're not seeing those Skeens highlights as much as we were earlier in the year. So let's get it back. Let's get it back going, Pittsburgh. We need it here.
Let's get it back because we need it. And speaking of getting back, we're talking about possible realignment here. And shoot, we've seen
this map, man. This map is crazy.
Dude, it's freaking crazy. And I'm so curious because we saw Rob Manfred really kind of push forward and say that's something that's definitely on the mind of the league office here. Curious overall, good idea, bad idea? Like where are you at right now?
I'm never against this type of stuff. The only thing that I ask is that it's obviously done properly. I don't know. Everybody coming up with their takes on what this would look like. I'll tell you, first off, if the Yankees end up in a division with the Red Sox, the Phillies, and the Mets, I'm out. That's where we'll cancel realignment, and I'm not doing it. Actually, that would be a lot of fun, but if you look at how the Yankees have performed, they're probably close to 4th place in that division based on how hot and cold they've been. But you're talking about expansion. If we get a couple more teams in the league, it's going to force some sort of issue. And I think that if I've argued for a while in my head, not really with anybody else, but I think the baseball season needs to be shortened just a little bit. The grind of a 162 game season is a lot. I'm not saying cut it by a month, but like if we're talking about ending it in mid-September and then making the travel a little bit easy on some of these teams, you're in a much better position with your star players being healthy. And then being able to last throughout the entire year and play at the highest level possible. So any effort to improve that and make it geographically sensible. Obviously, what Rob Manfred said on Sunday Night Baseball. I think it'll go a long way. I don't know what that looks like. You have Fangraphs did one. The Athletic did one too. Did you see these?
Yeah, I did. I actually have the Athletic one pulled up right now,
Oh
and
yeah.
I
So
really like
let's
the
go through
Athletic
that.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's go through that. Start it off.
let's do it. So I'll start in the American League. I'll go with your American League East here.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're looking at Steven Nesbitt's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had the Orioles, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays in the AL East. In the AL North, you had the White Sox, the Guardians, the Tigers, and the Twins. In the AL South, you had the Rockies, the Astros, the Royals, and the Rangers. The AL West, you had the Athletics, the Angels, Salt Lake City / Portland, and then the Mariners. And then, or I'm just going to keep going through them all. So we'll dive into this, and I got a couple thoughts at the end of this.
Okay.
The National League, you had the NL East, the Mets, the Phillies, the Pirates, and the Nationals. NL North, Cubs, Reds, Brewers, and Cardinals. South, Braves, Marlins, and Nashville, or is it Raleigh or Raleigh or
Raleigh, yeah,
I don't know how
Raleigh.
we're pronouncing it. The Rays. And then in the West, you have the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants.
Mm.
Only like I think that's a perfect one. I honestly I read it. And I'm like, this is very rare that I like 100% agree with somebody, but I would say I'm 99% agree. The only thing I would change is instead of Salt Lake City, I would put Montreal. I think we need baseball back in Montreal because have two teams in Toronto. Montreal is just tremendous overall. Needs a baseball team. So I'm hoping that they end up getting back to Montreal, get them there. And then the other one, and he's spot on with this, is Nashville. I've been hearing talk of Nashville getting another baseball team, honestly, since I've been in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to some people who have tried to bring a team to Nashville, where they've tried buying a team and then moving them to Nashville, or just starting one up, or you name it. So there's definitely a lot of interest in having that happen. I expect it to happen, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this?
We'll go to Leprechaun first. Yeah, I'd also be in favor with two of one of the worst teams in the league, an expansion team, and the Rays. So props to that. That's a little bit crazy to me because that's the biggest change out of all of them. Obviously, you have the NL East essentially remains the same. You just swap Pittsburgh and the Braves go away. The NL Central essentially remain. It's one team swapped out. Um, I don't really have any. I don't have any like criticisms for this because it all makes sense. If you want to talk about bringing in Montreal, that kind of puts a wrench in the plan because then you're changing the entire geographical location.
It's valid. That is
But
valid.
hey, I'm down because I went to Montreal a few years ago, and those people miss baseball, man. Every corner shop you go into, there was Expo stuff. It was really cool. So I'm totally in favor of welcoming in, re-welcoming back Montreal into the fold, but I don't know if that's in the cards. I feel like that's been discussed. Remember when the Rays were going to move and then they were talking about relocating to Montreal and then it got shot down? So, like, if that wasn't going to happen, hard to believe that they're going to start a team from scratch there, but you never know. Like, you're totally right. But I think the larger conversation here that might have gotten under people's skin is the doing away with the leagues. I know that was one. It's obviously not in the Athletics pitch, but one of the other publications did. You do away with the leagues, and then that's where you start getting, the Mets and the Phillies in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox and stuff like that. I'm not exactly against that, but with how much baseball has changed, baseball is a very traditional sport, for better or worse. If you want to keep a semblance of tradition, I think you probably got to keep the American League and the National League. I don't care, but if you're talking about appeasing older fans and making sure the history of the game kind of remains relevant, if you're already going to geographically change the divisions, the least you could do is probably just keep the leagues intact and move the pieces around. But yeah, I mean, for me as a Yankees fan, it doesn't change much. My life essentially remains the same. You just get the Rays out of there. All these other ones are interesting too, like Kansas City, Texas, Houston. I think that's a fun one. AL West is a little bit weird welcoming in this expansion team. But outside of that Brave situation in the Southeast, I think everything probably checks out.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with you there. And it would I honestly I hope it happens. I feel like this would be a really cool thing for baseball. And it kind of has like a bit of a football feel with how they have the division stacked up. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit different than how, I mean, this is just a projected one by Steven Nesbitt here. But I mean, we had, what was it? I'm looking at the NL North, which is, that's a weird one to say, but we had the Astros in the NL Central there for a while.
Yeah.
Obviously, then it's like there's a bunch of different things here, but I really like it. So shout out to Steven, who I think did a really nice job.
Yeah, really nice work here. Love the maps.
Yeah. No, it's and diving in. Should we switch gears a little bit? Let's talk about our last thing on the rundown here. Let's do it. So the Dodgers outfield concerns. My big things here. I got two of them, and I'm sure you got takes on this one too, because you were on the Dodgers side too. With that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So they signed Conforto in the offseason. Big 1-year deal. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, but this one's been pretty bad. This one's been really bad. And I remember, I think that one broke while I was on the plane to the winter meetings. And I remember that, and I'm just like, oh, that's really odd. I mean, I didn't hate the signing by any means, but for the dollar value, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of it by any means. And that has not worked out at all. And then Teoscar Hernandez, that entire situation there. We talked about how Aaron Boone called out Judge and, well, not call them out, but like gave some wrong info there.
Yeah.
But Dave Roberts, I mean, obviously Teoscar Hernandez is a great offensive talent. Defense is not his calling card by any means, but he called out Teoscar Hernandez for his defense and said he's got to be better, and tried walking it back at the end, but by then it was a little bit too late. I'm curious, like, what do you think of that? Because I don't mind it. He did it with Ohtani, so if you can do it to Ohtani, you can do it to anybody, but still, he's not pulling any punches right now.
I agree. I love it, man. This is the stuff, not to bring it back to the Yankees, but the Yankees fans are wishing Aaron Boone did more of this. The Dodgers are a championship caliber team. They have a ton of well-respected veterans, and there's something to be said about pulling your weight. Teoscar Hernandez is a great player. He's been, like, arguably the most important signing they've, like, Ohtani's, like, Ohtani and Betts and Freeman, yeah. But if this team doesn't have Teoscar Hernandez over the last couple of years, like, I don't know. He's been so clutch for them, and he's come up in all the big moments, and he's been a great clubhouse guy. Like, you see the behind the scenes stuff, unbelievable. But that said, can't really excuse elementary stuff. And we talked about the fundamentals at the top of this episode. It's like you're referring to veteran players who are among the best in the game, who just won a championship, and then you see stuff like this slip through the cracks. And whose job is it to call them out and keep them accountable? It's the manager. Nobody else is going to do it, you know? So I think Dave Roberts is doing his job properly. I think this year has been the most unfiltered Dave Roberts we've ever seen him. He's been getting on Conforto publicly. I think it was over the weekend where he was like, you have to hit that pitch on a 3-1 count. Or it was last week or so. The bases were loaded, forgot who they were playing, but Conforto missed a fastball middle. And it's like, how many more of these opportunities can you get? The only way that teams of the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros, and all these other top squads, the only way that those teams are going to get to where they need to get is if they have a candid manager who's putting the players to the fire in certain situations. So someone like Teoscar Hernandez obviously needs to know better, and has to be more on top of taking a route to a ball in the 9th inning. That said, though, Dodgers fans, my God, man, relax. You guys just swept the Padres. You took the division back. Everyone's like, I went on social media the day after this happened. Obviously, the Teoscar error led to the runner getting in scoring position. Then the Rockies walked it off on the next hit. Everyone's saying there's no way this team wins a World Series with Teoscar Hernandez in right field. First of all, there absolutely is. Like, yes, it's a problem, and that you probably don't want to go forth with. But like, if the Dodgers, if push came to shove, and Teoscar Hernandez was your right fielder, you'd be fine. You'd be A-okay. Secondly, how many players does this team have coming back from injury over the next couple weeks? This is going to be solved. You go through it for us, because I mean the laundry list of star players that are going to be back in this lineup is ridiculous.
Oh, it's crazy, and it seems like that happens every year here for the
Yeah.
Dodgers. It's like, and they get injured, especially on the pitching side. It's just been so much. Obviously, Blake Snell was a guy that they were missing for a key amount of time to start the season here too. And I mean, they're going to get all these guys back, and part of me wonders. And this goes back to something that I heard in the NBA a few years ago, and it was David Aldridge asking Greg Popovich, and like the Spurs were going on their just great run for the during the postseasons. They were basically in the finals almost every other year, and Aldridge asked Popovich, boredom wasn't the right word, but it was like, does it get like stale for these guys? And Popovich didn't dismiss the idea. And part of me wonders if that could end up being a case for the Dodgers here, where they're just so good that they expect to get deep into the postseason, that the regular season could get a little bit boring for them. So again, like, that's not something I've heard at all. But it's a conversation that Aldridge and Popovich had that I highly recommend watching it on YouTube. It was a pretty enlightening interview, especially for Popovich, where, I mean, we know how he is. He's not very media friendly by any means.
Yeah.
Complacency,
man. We know. We've seen it.
Yeah, it's a legit thing, but I think the Dodgers will be totally fine. They're right there with you. Relax. Padres are great, so it should be a fun division race. But both of those franchises, especially, both of those fan bases, I should say, need to calm down.
Yeah, they're yelling every day, man. The Dodgers, I mean, you're sitting here, I'm looking at this roster. You got, obviously, Max Muncy's on the shelf for a little while, so that's going to hurt. But you have Tommy Edman coming back. You have Hyun-Sung Kim coming back. You have Kike Hernandez coming back. I think Hernandez and Kim are on rehab assignments. Edman is projected to be back by the first or second week of September. So, like, any outfield complaints you have right now, if you're getting by with Teoscar Hernandez making a couple crappy plays, but hitting you clutch home runs against the Padres to take the division back, I think that's a fair trade-off.
No, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, they're going to be totally set. They'll be totally fine, and all these concerns that they have now are going to be put to bed. And I think the same thing goes for the Cubs and Kyle Tucker. I know we still want to talk about that today, don't we? I'm sure we probably do.
We have to. It's arguably the biggest story in the league.
Yeah, it is. Right? And yeah, it 100% is. And let's dive into it before we put an end to the program here. But yeah, Kyle Tucker, obviously removed from the lineup there in Chicago. A lot of frustration there overall from the Cubs fan base, and just overall where they're at. And I've been of the belief that he's probably not healthy. And we've seen the same thing mentioned by Pat Murphy as well on 670 The Score in Chicago. Like, he doesn't think that Tucker is healthy. And Tucker has not come out and said anything publicly. And Murphy even said he's just such a class guy that he's not going to come out and say, I'm not healthy. So I think there's more to that story than we know, but the Cubs are giving him a day off, or some days off here to try to reset, get himself going in the right place, get him just a mental break, because these struggles are taking a toll on him. But I think this is going to be a very good thing for him overall. I don't expect this to impact his free agency. Like, if this does extend to the postseason or just deep into the regular season, then that could be something that could end up happening. But I think the talk of it impacting his free agency and limiting suitors is a bunch of baloney. I think it's baseless for now. So we'll see. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Tucker would have to completely fall off a cliff in order for his market to get crushed. He's 28 years old. He's a 5-tool player, tremendous Gold Glove caliber defense, can steal bases, hits for contact, hits for power. Yeah, a tough 30-something games, right? Over the last month, he's hitting 184 with a 544 OPS. Yeah. You want to hear the positives, though? With all of that weighing his numbers down, he's still hitting 261 with an 821 OPS and a 139 OPS plus. Yeah, most players would kill to have those numbers. Yeah. I think that the Cubs are doing. Cubs fans, again, everyone complain. You're 4.5 up in the wild card. You have the same record as the Dodgers and the Phillies. I think, like, the only reason you're in the wild card is because the Brewers are going nuclear right now. But nonetheless, Craig Counsell, I don't think he's reinventing the wheel here. But again, I think it's good that managers are being candid about this stuff. The guy needs a mental reset. It's not a secret. Yeah. Everyone has seen him struggle. They've been on many national televised games over the last month. The world has seen it happen. Him not looking like himself. I think an injury is obviously possible, but I don't think there's anything wrong with giving him. Look, they sat him yesterday. They swept the doubleheader against the Brewers. So I'm not saying that that's the direct cause of it, but like maybe that gave somebody else a chance in the lineup.
Yeah, Casey, and he hit a home run, and it's a good thing to give a guy a mental break when he needs it, because he needs it. He needed it in the worst way, and if the Cubs are going to end up coming back into the postseason and advancing deep into it, that's when you need your star players to step up, and that is exactly why they ended up acquiring Kyle Tucker, and they want him now. Obviously, they probably want him long term, and the price to get him was, Paredes, it was Cam Smith, and there was another pitcher in there.
There was a prospect, right? I forgot.
And it's a deal that they were convicted in. It was not typical of the Cubs in their previous moves by any means, but I like that they identified the player that they wanted and they went out and got him, because that's been something we've all been critical of the Cubs in recent years as well. So I think he's going to be totally fine. Get him some days off, get in that reset, and he's going to be a new player come the postseason. I'm calling my shot right now. Cubs fans, you don't need to boo him. I don't mind the booing. It shows that you guys care. But he's going to be totally fine. And I will put all the concerns to bed for him, although they are valid at this point.
Yeah, couldn't agree. I mean, look, it's a prolonged slump. You don't want it to go any longer than it has been. So I think, to me, if a player is doing this for 20 games, I think that warrants a reset. You're talking 3 weeks of not being yourself and being completely out of your element. Like, it's uncharacteristic of Kyle Tucker to do this. It's the worst stretch of his career. So something's got to give. In terms of that trade, it was former Yankee prospect Hayden Wesneski. So that's who was in the deal. I think it was a great trade for both sides, to be honest with you. And the fact the Astros are still succeeding without all of the guys that they either traded, had leaving free agency, or Yordan Alvarez right now on the shelf. It's just unbelievable. But props to the Cubs for making the move. Like, you got to do it. And if it gives somebody else a chance and it reignites the offense, then huge win. And like we were talking about before, it's a long season. What's your take on the season? How many games should the season be if you were commissioner and you were in charge of geographic realignment and changing the schedule? What would it be?
Not 162, let me tell you. It's too long. I know how taxing it is for a ball writer when you're having to travel as much. And it's like you're sitting there, and these guys are playing Major League Baseball games. They're working out. They're doing all sorts of different stuff and putting their bodies through hell. And I get it. Like, they get paid very well. So, like, obviously they got to do it. But if you can have maybe even like 120 games, I think that'd be a really good thing. But 162 is just too much. But I have a hard time believing that owners would give that up, because that would mean less revenue. And owners get into the game and buy teams strictly for the prop. Like, well, I mean, they obviously want to win, but they want to make money as well. And playing 162 games best ensures that. But what about you?
How about this, owners? 145 games, play in for the last two playoff spots among the whatever, like the NBA does the play-in tournament. I wouldn't do something that aggressive, but like maybe, what's the wild card picture right now? We got the Royals, the Guardians, the Rangers, and the Rays all 6.5 out. Maybe those teams do battle in a playoff series to then fight for the last two spots. So whoever wins those then plays the second two wild card teams. Then you can expand the season a little bit for them, but then, everyone will get mad about the top teams getting too much rest and running out. So you can't really please anybody. But yeah, I'm in favor of get it to the 140 range, and I think we're talking a really good situation.
No, I would totally agree. Just not 162, because that to me is too long, and I'm in agreement with a lot of people on that. That's because I think that's a common sentiment around fandom and just around baseball. Is 162 games is just too much. But we'll see what happens there. But Thomas, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me today and filling in for Adam. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and I could not have done this without you. So I want to just say I appreciate you big time, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's a great time. Love coming on here when I can. And props to Adam. Look at this guy taking vacation. We love that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to be doing the same.
Yeah. Well, when he's going to be back, on Monday?
I think that sounds about right.
He'll be back on the Baseball Insiders Monday, guys, so you will not have to worry. and you
Although
want to
we're only doing Wednesday shows.
only Wednesday shows, so he'll be back on he'll be on Yanks Go Yard on Monday. Tune in. We'll be yelling about something, I'm sure, after that Red Sox series.
Oh, I would guarantee it. So tune into Yanks Go Yard, watch Thomas and Adam, and tune into the Baseball Insiders here on Wednesday. I got a private Q&A going on the Discord tomorrow as well. We have content on fansided.com. We got the Discord, so make sure to join that as well. We got the newsletter, the Moonshot, so make sure to subscribe to that and read that, because we have all sorts of good insight there from myself and many of the other writers here at Fansided. So make sure to tune into that and read that. But Thomas, I appreciate you. Hunter, our lovely producer for the day, we appreciate you. I appreciate you. So does Cooper. And see you all back here on Wednesday. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks all.
Peace.